Walking on Wěiqu eggshells. The hidden cost of Chinese anxieties. Jiāolŭ. So pressure doesn't motivate people in China the way Westerners expect. It causes anxiety, harms productivity, and is unforgivable in Chinese psychology. In Chapter 6, we analyze why caution persists in Chinese psychology. The iron rice bowl mentality, 铁饭碗, conditioned people to protect themselves long before it permitted them to be more assertive. Now in Chapter 7, we examine how they feel, 委屈, through a form of anxiety that they feel, 焦虑, that is pervasive in Chinese culture but rarely encountered among their Western counterparts. When Westerners exhibit symptoms of feeling 焦虑, it is diagnosed as a form of clinical depression requiring professional treatment. However, the same symptoms in China are commonplace and handled personally by complaining, which is 抱怨, and gossiping, which is 八卦, through one's social outlets, 出气孔. This treatment has become a ritual. But there's a risk of allowing these patterns to fester. They eventually mutate into something very ugly, from bad-mouthing at one end of the spectrum to outright destructiveness at the other. In 2013, a disgruntled Chinese owner of a Maserati quadruport staged a protest in Qingdao, China, by hiring several men with sledgehammers to publicly smash his 1.6 million yuan high-performance car outside of an auto show. The owner accused the dealership of installing used parts while charging him for new ones, mishandling repairs, and damaging the vehicle during service. After months of unresolved disputes, he escalated the conflict into a highly visible demonstration, drawing large crowds and widespread media attention. The spectacle quickly went viral across Chinese social media and became a symbol of poor after-sales service among high-end foreign car brands in China. Maserati wasn't an isolated incident. Lamborghini, BMW, Audi, and Mercedes have all faced similar demonstrations in China. Now, Westerners might feel anyone wealthy enough to own a Lamborghini should behave with more dignity. But this misperception is precisely why we dismiss Chinese emotions and anxieties to our own detriment. While these luxury automobile examples are sensational, they pinpoint an underlying reflection of Chinese psychology, face culture, and emotional intelligence, EQ. In Chinese, 情商, is not the same as ours. And this is precisely why we analyze the Chinese cultural concept of 委屈 and not just translate it. 委屈 is translated as feeling wronged, mistreated, or unfairly blamed. It is backward-looking, usually referring to something that happened recently. The problem with this translation is that it focuses on what causes the feeling rather than the feeling itself, which doesn't have a direct translation. 焦虑 is forward-looking and directly linked to 委屈. A dictionary might say it is the anxiety, worry, and tension people feel about their future. Again, this translation falls woefully short because it focuses on the symptoms rather than the underlying feelings. Feelings that are culturally based and contained within Chinese mindsets. In Chinese culture, suppressed feelings of being wronged, which is 委屈, often lead to Chinese anxieties, 焦虑, because direct confrontation is unthinkable in Chinese face-giving culture, forcing people to swallow their feelings rather than express them. The hierarchical system makes it all but impossible for Chinese people to confront their superiors, despite its modernization from thousands of years of tradition. Unexpressed 委屈 feelings create internal pressure resulting in all-consuming 焦虑 anxieties. In the Chinese workplace, it is a very common emotional chain. I feel wronged, but I can't say it. I worry about the consequences. I become anxious. My work is negatively impacted, as is my health and mental well-being. Since foreigners are not constrained by Chinese social norms, we have an advantage. We can proactively liberate the hidden resistance bottled inside our Chinese counterparts before its silence hardens, progress stalls, and a beast is unleashed. While Wěiqu is translated as feeling wronged or aggrieved, its true depth is much more resounding. Wěiqu describes the emotional state of feeling pressured without protection and then summarily dismissed without face. So it usually arises in interactions when someone in a position of authority assigns blame, whether it is justified or not. Western leaders see these moments as constructive criticism, something competent professionals should be able to handle. But in Chinese psychology, Wěiqu-induced stress accumulates in silence and reshapes behavior from inside out. So you might be asking, how can I learn these Chinese anxieties when I don't understand them? The answer lies in empathizing with their emotions. Though this might be a higher hurdle than men from Mars trying to understand women from Venus. So let's start simple. We begin with the premise that our words matter, despite playing in an arena where the rules say they do not. Next, we practice the art of indirect communication, limiting our question to those with baked-in, face-preserving answers. In other words, always leave them an off-ramp. And finally, we should convey our sentiments as vaguely as possible while practicing the secret of expressing only positive thoughts to a universe that is always listening. Now, whether this prescription sounds simple or daunting, it will open doors to a better reality in China. All right, so where do we go next? If Chapter 7 explains the unintended repercussions of allowing Chinese anxieties to fester, Chapter 8 tackles the practical challenges of understanding their attitudes, their 心态, and how to embrace its dichotomies. All right, speak less, drill deeper, and uncover all the riches that China has to offer.